Furries can easily be identified as people who dress up as animal characters either online or in real life. Within this group lies many subgroups who, at worst, can be considered cringy or weird, but ultimately are harmless. The Furry Raiders are not one of these groups, founded by a man called Foxler Nightfire, someone who has been banned from multiple places, admitted to grooming and engaging in cyber sex with a 13-year-old while he was 18, and being a zoophile. Their group sports a logo comparable to a certain World War II fascist group. The Furry Raiders are a name that many in the furry community despise, and for good reason. The Furry Raiders began in 2007 on the game's Second Life, where Star Fox, Ace Fox, Kiba Hawksley, Nightwolf, and Wolfer all began the group together. Eventually, in 2010, Foxler would create their signature logo and armband, supposedly based on the design of a Second Life group called Furry. Very creative. With their new logo, the Furry Raiders began to proudly wear their armbands both in the virtual and real world. But why would Foxler choose such a provocative logo, and is he really a neo-Nazi? Well, maybe. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But it could also be more of a statement, as the group holds strong beliefs in the freedom of expression and speech. We are committed to upholding the values of free expression within the furry community by providing an open and welcoming organization free of exclusion and prejudice based on race, sex, creed, gender, identity, sexual orientation, or political affiliation. We feel this endeavor will help foster an atmosphere of understanding and therefore build a stronger community by uniting furries of all persuasions that have been seeking new and novel ways to express themselves, sharing their talents and creative efforts publicly without fear of censorship or limitations impeding their pursuit of happiness. Keep in mind that the group wants to help the community. When we discuss, we'll put them on the map. Rocky Mountain FurCon, or RMFC for short, was an organization that began in 2006 by the Mid-American Anthropomorphics and Arts Corporation in order to cater to the local furry population of Colorado. Every August, starting in 2007, a convention would be held where people could gather around and enjoy themselves. It wasn't until 2016 though where the Furry Raiders marked the beginning of the end for the convention. To briefly explain how conventions work, when it comes to housing patrons, they contact the local hotels in order to reserve blocks of rooms for the convention to resell on their website for a discounted price. The Furry Raiders managed to reserve a block of rooms, roughly around 30, before the convention could. RMFC contacted the Raiders asking them to release the rooms back to the convention, but at first they were declined, so RMFC released a statement about the housing situation. We have exhausted all of the means that we have to officially try to get them to release the rooms, but we're sorry to say that neither the convention nor the hotel currently have policies in place to prevent this behavior, so we strongly disapprove of it. We will be taking direct action to implement policies with the matriarch next year to prevent this obscenely unfair behavior. Eventually though, the Raiders would release 25 rooms back to RMFC as they were unused. RMFC then released an apology to the Raiders for their misunderstanding of the situation. At the time, the Furry Raiders had stated that the rooms in the block had been given to members and friends, and from that we inferred that they were refusing to release any of the rooms they had reserved. Since this statement, the Furry Raiders have begun to cancel some of their unused rooms in the reservation, and has stated that they will continue to do so for unused rooms. RMFC would like to apologize to the Furry Raiders for any confusion or antagonism this statement might have caused. Again, feedback on this and any other news is always welcome here. If you prefer your feedback private, please leave us a private message and we can send it through the proper channels. After this little event, the convention went on smoothly, and after it, Foxer himself did an interview on his own channel about the situation in which he blames RMFC for the drama.
Well, and I personally didn't think it was a wise idea for RMFC to actually point at the people that had the rooms, which was me and the group, Furry Raiders.
Yeah.
We could have handled it a lot more exclusively under the table.
Yeah.
And got it all worked out. And
that was my next point, actually, was it shouldn't have been, broadcast to the whole damn world. It should have been something that was conducted in a more of a business sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when you run a convention, you treat it like a business.
Oh, that's absolutely. It still has to break even at the end of the day. And,
now, the first point they make is that the convention should have done this all under the table instead of making a statement about it. Well, funny enough, in their first statement, they say how they did try to get them to release the rooms originally, but they were unable to, which is why they were planning to make prevention so something like this couldn't happen again for the next year. It's only because that they didn't initially give them back that the statement was made. It's also quite absurd for them to rent out 30 rooms just for them. I believe he says like for his friends and families. You do not have that many friends and family who are gonna attend a fucking furry convention, man. That's just crazy to even believe that you're gonna need that many rooms. And you did end up giving back, I believe, 25. So it seems you have overreacted a little bit to the situation, honestly. This little incident, though, is nothing compared to what happened the following year, as in 2017, threats were made to a user on Twitter named DioTazDevil, supposedly by a furry raider. I'll play a short clip explaining the situation before I speak about what came after this.
Right around after the time that this punching happened and Trump's inauguration happened, this particular fur up here, who has the Antifa symbol, which is the circle with the 3 arrows pointing down on their logo, said, you remember that this neo-Nazi group called the Furry Raiders is going to be at Rocky Mountain FurCon, so be wary and be cautious. And, dealing with the tongue-in-cheek of the current events, Dale responded with, I can't wait to deck them in the schnoz. And then somebody responded to that with, well, I can't wait for them to pull up, the person you deck in the schnoz to pull out a gun and blow you away. I can't read it quote word for word because my fursuit, these glasses don't work with a darn with this suit on, but that's basically what happened here. And so then it was like, whoa, that escalated quickly. So do you really plan on bringing a firearm to the convention? And then, that whole little thing happened. Deo reported this particular Twitter user to Twitter. Twitter banned the particular user. Rocky Mountain FurCon. The problem is we don't really know who this user is actually as a furry. They kind of came out of nowhere. I don't really know who they are. I don't know what their ties are with the Furry Raiders, etc.
Once this threat was made, Dio made a report to the police and to RMFC. 2 months later, Dio received her reply. To her surprise, it was a cease and desist letter where they claimed she was spreading false information, defaming the con, making threats of violence, inciting a riot, and her ban from attending RMFC. Now, thankfully for Dio, a real lawyer looked over this by the name of the Boozy Barrister, in which he explains in an article that this letter was not sent by an actual lawyer, but by a sovereign citizen. For those who don't know, a sovereign citizen is someone who believes that they are exempt from the laws and practices of a state or country. Now, who actually sent the letter? Well, that would be a man named Kendall Emery or Kahuki Otter, which he is also known by in the furry community. He is a 30-year-old man who was convicted in 1993 for sexual contact with a minor and is also the founder of RMFC, but did step down in 2008 when people found out about his past. Why he would return just to send a cease and desist letter to Dio isn't too obvious. My belief is at the very least that he is friends with Foxler, as a group picture can be seen with Foxler, his partner Kiba, and our man Kendall all together happily. This also explains why Dio was banned from the convention instead of the Raiders, or no one at all. Besides that, on April 10th, 2017, RMFC would announce their cancellation of the event due to a sudden and drastic increase in security costs, amounting to more than a third of our entire existing operating budget, and very public threats of violence against one another by members of this community, as well as the negative backlash from misinformation spread about the convention, its staff, and attendees. Since this cancellation, no other RMFC has been announced and the convention is considered dead. The Furry Raiders are quite the controversial group and have been since the beginning with the whole armband thing. They've been banned from multiple places, many fur meetups and conventions, along with other websites like Furfinity and Second Life where they began their whole group. Besides that, the individual members themselves are very weird and strange, and if you look at like any of them, they like have some weird shit going on. I couldn't talk about like all of it because it didn't really make sense with the video, but just to touch on it briefly, one of their founding members, Nightwolf, did this little fetish test, I don't know why, on Furfinity, and two of the ones that you should look into are Cub, which according to Google is explicit material depicting underage animal-like characters, so basically furry pedophilia. And along with furry pedophilia, this guy is also into zoophilia, which is fucking of animals. And another thing, our guy Kendall, you know, he got convicted of sexually touching a minor back in 1993. Well, he likes to go on Facebook and invite young teenagers to come over to his house in order to watch pornography. Let me just read this event listing that he made. The legal age of consent in Colorado is specified to be 15 or even younger, merely depending on circumstances as close in age. This guy is 30 years old, by the way. The law text is, in Colorado, a person who is under 15 can legally consent to have sex with someone who is no more than 4 years older. Additionally, a person under 17 can legally consent to sex with a person who is no more than 10 years. The law is merely for reference as to what an adult may actually be. There are no advertisements or intent to perform sexual acts, as this is merely a meet for furry friends. Like, my guy tried to be slick with it. He's like, hey, I do not intend for that to happen. Hey, but if it does happen, make sure that you know what legally an adult is. Like, come on, bro, what are you doing? Who are you fooling, man? Do you even fool yourself? I don't think so. We all know what you're trying to do, buddy. And one last thing is that there's this tweet that Fox made where he literally said he hates black people. So, this guy definitely does not help out his case with this whole group about being neo-Nazis and racist. I'm being honest. But besides that, it seems to me anyone who associates themselves with the Furry Raiders are some kind of freaks, so you should probably stay away from them, and they'll definitely be back. I'm sure the group will come back into the public eye for something negative, but I'm gonna have to leave you with that. So if you enjoyed this style of content, leave a like, and I'll see you next time. Peace out.